Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Alabama 300 at Talladega Superspeedway here in the Knapp Daddy Cup Series. We have the broadcast version for you here tonight. You got to see the POV version on Monday night where we had our very own John Smith out there on the track. And we promised that we would be getting back to you with the broadcast version. So that is what we have for you here tonight. Not a really exciting racing, and honestly, I think it adds a really exciting perspective to the race that John was out there and was able to kind of experience what was going on out on the track with all the drivers that you've come to know and love here in the Knapp Daddy Cup Series. We are moving through our playoffs here, so this race means a lot to these guys. The points is going to mean a lot to these guys, and everyone is going to be racing very, very hard. But we are going to get over to the action here in just 1 second. Once again, thank you to everybody who joined us on Monday night for this race live, and thank you to everybody who's tuning in here tonight. As always, in the booth, my name is Hunter Foley. My broadcast partner is Jonathan Smith. We had Baker Knapp out on the track with us for Monday night, so it was a really, really fun night. Be sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming action we have as we close out this inaugural season of the Knapp Daddy Cup Series. We are going to be coming back to you after the new year with a brand new season of racing that is in the works right now. Lots of exciting things about to happen, so be sure you like the video, helps us out a ton. Be sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the action, and leave us a comment. If you were here on Monday night, let us know who you were pulling for. Let us know what your thoughts are. We definitely appreciate it. But I guess with all that being said, as we get wrapped up and get over here to the action, I'll turn it over to my broadcast partner, Jonathan Smith, to talk a little bit about the Alabama 300 and a little bit about Talladega Superspeedway.
Yeah, it was cool being here and having a good time out here at Talladega for the Alabama 300. This is a 300-mile race, going to be 113 laps, going to be completed at Talladega. 2.66-mile long track. You're going to see a lot of these drivers drafting around with each other for most of the race, maybe staying in single file for a while, but really duking it out at those stage breaks, which will occur on lap 20 and on lap 50. And then again at the finish on lap 113. But got some pretty great racing weather for you today. 67 degrees outside with a 70-degree track temp. Humidity is about perfect and not a lot of wind to affect these cars as they go around this track. So really looking forward to this one. Got some newcomers in here. We just saw Baker Knapp in that 96 car. He is a broadcaster with us right now. Third broadcaster, so he helps us out here on Monday nights and able to jump in the car and get some laps in at Talladega. And I myself also was able to get in the car and ride around with these guys, so it's cool to hang out with the guys you broadcast for and race with them for a little bit. So we appreciate everybody sticking with us through Thursday night and a lot of the stuff going on, but excited to get this broadcast out to you as we are about to finish up practice here in the next 40 seconds.
Still a super fun night. I mean, it was kind of this beautiful mix of broadcasting, which we've come to know and love through working with our own league here on Monday nights on the Knapp Daddy Cup Series, but also being the broadcasters for the Doghouse Racing League on Thursday nights in the Group 6 Cup Series. So we've really come to try to be as good as we can at the broadcasting thing. But then also we kind of got our start doing like TikTok lives and YouTube lives of me in the spotter booth, you out on the track. So it was kind of a weird mix of these kind of different stages of our iRacing, sim racing careers. And I honestly thought it was a lot of fun. And now we get to go back and be able to do the actual broadcast and get that out so people will get to see both perspectives, which can't say that we're going to make a habit of that because it frankly does make a lot more work, but I think it adds a really interesting perspective and not something that you see too often in the iRacing, sim racing world.
Absolutely. We're definitely not trying to make a habit out of it. Want to kind of keep me back here in the booth and keep the drivers on the track. But still a good time all around. But when we come back, we are going to be gridding up for this race, and we'll have the starting order for you. So we'll see you guys in just a second. We are back here on the Knapp Daddy Racing channel for the Knapp Daddy Racing League here at Talladega for the Alabama 300. Got these guys girded up and ready to go. Why don't you tell us where the guys are starting at tonight?
So tonight, our starting order for the Alabama 300, your pole position winner is going to go to Mr. Brandon Lopez. Starting in second place, you're going to have the number 14 car of Dagan Barnes. Third place tonight, going to go to the newcomer, Ira Kohlhaas. Fourth place is going to be Kirby Wayne Scott. Fifth place is going to go to Thomas McLaughlin. Another newcomer in our sixth qualifying place, going to be Mr. Brandon Massey. Going to have Trash Panda's own Zach Baker starting right after him. Greg McConey, his teammate, going to be starting right alongside Zach Baker there in the 8th position. John Smith himself going to be starting in 9th place tonight here at Talladega, and Frank Marchese is going to round out your top 10. Joe Tardif going to be starting in 11th place tonight. Kensley Smith going to be starting 12th. Once again, our own Baker Knapp going to be starting in 13th position tonight. And that is going to round out our field here tonight for the Alabama 300 at Talladega Superspeedway.
Yeah, before we get going here, just want to flash over these point standings that we have so that you can see where your favorite driver is at, and we will get back to some racing here in a second. And we are back. That pace car is about to dive off the racetrack here. Brandon Lopez in that bottom line going to get the beginning of this restart on the flag man.
I don't think there's too many things more exciting in the world of racing than seeing a bunch of cars lined up and getting ready to take off at Talladega. I mean, it's just, I don't think it gets any more classic Americana than that, but that pace car makes that hard left-hand turn, and these guys get off to the races. They take the green flag here. Brandon Lopez off to the race lead here at Talladega in the Alabama 300, and look at him scatter. Seeing that bottom lane get a ton of momentum there right off the bat, that high line really lagging behind a little bit. It used to be at Talladega, you could kind of run by yourself or use that side draft to work your way up in the field. Now it seems like you even have trouble with two guys. You see John Smith up there trying to stay in the draft. Dagan Barnes trying to catch up there to that number 13 car of John Smith. I believe that's Brandon Massey that you're pushing right there. It just seems like you're not getting a ton of momentum on the high side, even with those two cars being really, really locked in.
And I'm glad we kind of saw this early, because the high side is not playing here at Talladega very well since this whole update that they've had. I mean, you have got to be really locked in with at least 3 or 4 drivers to get any kind of run. I think you're going to see that over the course of this race. Some of these drivers try to go high. It's not really going to work out. You can try to go by yourself with a good run, but you're only going to gain maybe two car lengths of position, and ultimately you fall right back to where you were. So got to be careful, pick your battles wisely, make sure you team up with the right people and get pushing when you can.
Yeah, we were talking about it during this race about how when you see the times of these guys that are really pushing in the draft, and then you see the guys that are kind of falling out of the draft or slipping out of the draft or whatever the case may be. But I mean, it's 5 or 6 seconds of difference across the entire length of the track that you were going to lose if you're not in the draft. And you can even see on that top lane right there where those guys just aren't getting as good of a push as those guys up front. Brandon Lopez, Ira Kohlhaas, and Thomas McLaughlin were really pushing well here at the beginning of this thing. I mean, you're just able to see the amount of distance that they're able to create.
Yeah, Brandon Lopez, your current points winner coming into this race tonight. out there at the front right now with that gold playoff banner. You can see the newcomer Ira Kohlhaas right behind him with that 29 car with the green playoff banner, or the green regular season banner. So Brandon really trying to fight for that pot there at the very end. Has a good shot. And we're talking about picks while we're still here early in the run. Who is your pick for this race tonight?
Oh gosh, I think Kirby Wainscott was my pick for tonight. He really been running well here recently. We've seen him kind of employ a lot of different strategies over the course of the year too. We've seen him really push the envelope on some of the fuel strategies. We saw some fuel strategies open up here tonight as well, which was really, really exciting. I think it makes for a really, really fun race. But Kirby's been running really, really well. He's up there in the points, battling for it. And so Kirby Wainscott was my vote.
Yeah, it's a good pick. We've seen Kirby do some really unique strategies this year with some fuel strategy and pit stop strategy, and works out for him. And so I will never question his decision-making on what he does there, because he always seems to have a trick up his sleeve. Also got the Knapp Daddy Racing League logo on the side. I love it. It's a nice-looking car there. Coming into tonight, though, I have Mr. Kinsley Smith, who I think is going to win this, coming into the point standings in last place in the playoffs. But that's after one race, and I think he's going to have a really good night here. Move on up. Got 50% top 10 finishes with an average or a driver rating of 102.2. So I think tonight would be a good run for him, and he can push to the front, get some points, maybe get some stage points, and move on up in the playoff standings.
See Greg McConey back there at the back. He's working with his teammate Frank Marchese. They are absolutely locked in up there. See Greg get a little bit loose right there, but Team Trash Panda works really, really well as a team together, and you can tell they're trying to make that high side work again. High side didn't seem like it really had a lot of juice here tonight, but they're really making it work there. I mean, Greg is pushing, which is exactly what you need to be doing at Talladega, and it can be something that can be really a little risky if you don't know who you're working with. But Greg running that Trash Panda, I think John Deere-esque paint scheme there. No, but he had his kid's birthday was the other day, and really into tractors, and so I think he made that Trash Deer. Yeah, Trash Deer was what it was. And I know he made that kind of in honor of his kid, but also just fun paint scheme. Team Trash Panda really been showing up well this year with the paint schemes, which works out well for a bunch of iRacing paint scheme nerds like ourselves.
Yeah, being a paint scheme company, you know, we're a little partial to good paint schemes, so we like to see all the schemes guys got a lot of good ones here in this league. And I feel like Greg and his team has been pulling it out like a new scheme almost every week, which is kind of cool. I mean, these paints aren't easy to make. It takes a little bit of time and effort, so that's cool they're able to get different schemes every week and everything like that. I think the scheme that I ran with here tonight was actually just a scheme that I used for another league, which is why if you look on the side of it here, I believe it's going to be on this side, it has actually 3 little win tokens on the side, because that's where I was showing off in that league, just trying to brag on myself a little bit. But definitely no wins in this league. It's my first race here with these guys, and actually first race with a lot of these guys, so it was a lot of fun to see how these guys run and who does what and the personality styles of the drivers.
I think that's one of the things that was really kind of interesting to me about how we ended up having to do this on Monday night was, you know, you get a situation where, you know, we're kind of broadcasting it POV from your perspective, but you're able to better experience what goes on the track while these guys are racing. You're able to race with guys you haven't had the chance to race with in the past. I think it adds a whole new perspective to the broadcast going forward and setting us up even better for next season. So as far as I'm concerned, a lot of good really came out of it. As you see Ira Kohlhaas there up on the high side. He's working with his teammate, Brandon Massey. But up there at the front, man, I mean, Thomas McLaughlin and Brandon Lopez really working this thing well. Absolutely tied in there. I know you were trying to get up to the bumper there of Dagan Barnes, but I know we talked about it a little bit during the race itself, but even as close as it seems like you guys are right there, I mean, that's not really optimum draft position here at Talladega.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit closer than that. especially with these splitters on the back. You can kind of see that little bit of plexiglass hanging off the back to make that splitter, not the splitter, the spoiler 7 inches instead of the normal 4 inches that you would have. And what that's going to do is actually create a little bit more downforce to keep these cars grounded, not have so many cars flying off the ground. And it kind of helps.
Which is a good thing.
It's a good thing, but also at the same time, it kind of can mess up your draft a little bit the way it used to be, especially with these diffusers out the bottom, creating more of a straight path of air out the back instead of that very low pressure that you can almost pull up to. So really when drafting works is the guy in front of you has a pocket of low pressure behind his car and you're filing in right behind it and able to get minimal drag, pulling back on your car and able to push right behind him. As you see right there, Thomas McLaughlin at 38 car behind, Brandon Lopez getting a really good push. The problem is if you get a little off center of the guy in front of you, you could eventually spin him.
Yep. And that is how typically at Talladega you see these big parking lots start. As a lot of times guys are just trying to draft and then someone gets a little wonky and then all of a sudden somebody's cutting grass in the infield. You also get guys, especially once these races get a little bit longer, and you see guys trying to change lanes, open up new lanes, and then they're like, maybe not, maybe this isn't where I need to be. That's where you can see a lot of the other cautions happen here at Dega. What you didn't actually see off screen was our very own Baker Knapp, who once again joined the race tonight for car count. Make sure we had some extra guys out there on the track. Blinked out really bad, and by the time he blinked back in, he was exploding.
Oh, and there goes Dagan Barnes spinning around, getting to the side of Frank Marchese, and I believe that's going to be Brandon Massey. Barnes gets spun around. I believe that's going to throw our first caution of the race.
Indeed, it is. Just came right over your nose there. I think he was just trying to, we were talking about it literally just a second ago. Didn't plan that, by the way, but worked out. You see guys maybe trying to get up top, open a lane, think maybe somebody's going to go with them, and then you realize once you get up there, oh no, nobody's going with me. We talked about it in the beginning, the dangers of the draft here and losing it and what that's going to do to your position. And you try to get back down to where you were before, and by that point, holes closed, and unfortunately for Dagan Barnes there, that's what's going to send you spinning around and with a dented-in fender.
Yeah, let's see if we can rewind and see just exactly what went on there during that caution. Coming back here to this replay, watching Dagan Barnes in that 14 car and myself, John Smith, in that 13 car behind. And it looks like gets into the back of the guy in front of him. Never want to push the pusher, but he goes up with Thomas McLaughlin. I believe he thought he was clear and just kind of starts to come back down right about here and almost clear, but not enough. That's going to send him spinning around. Gets into the side of Brandon Massey. Frank Marchese just getting a little piece of him there with some net code.
Really good move there as well to kind of dodge that wreck. That could have been one of those ones that took out a pretty good portion of the field there. He just got turned around and couldn't quite get it back straight and kind of ended up going almost in reverse through the field. But good work there by everybody to kind of avoid that. Brandon Massey took the majority of that damage other than Dagan himself, but really good job by everybody to avoid that being a parking lot.
We're going to ride along here with Brandon Massey to see just what he saw. A little bend on the hood, but not too much.
Classic Dega caution right there, though, where you're just flying around the track at 190 miles an hour, and all of a sudden somebody's in reverse in your face, just nowhere to go.
These guys coming right here to see who's going to be the first one to make some pit stop strategies. Got Brandon Lopez, looks like he's diving down. Ira Kohlhaas, Brandon Massey, Kinsley Smith, Frank Marchese, Kirby Wainwright, or Wayne Scott. I'm thinking of the baseball player. Adam Wainwright. Greg McConey, That's Zachary Baker and Dagan Barnes all bringing it down pit road. And you see Baker Knapp there, all lonesome by himself in the garage already.
Yeah, he's already gone to find a chicken sandwich. The hood's still popped out on that thing. You see most of the guys here taking a little gas and go, just trying to get it back out onto the track, save that position. Obviously, in this situation, you got Dagan Barnes trying to get his damage repaired. Same thing back there for Brandon Massey. Those two guys that took damage on that yellow flag there. But really, all in all things considered, not too much damage for what could have been at Dega.
Yeah, Dagan Barnes actually missed his pit stall, had to back it up just a little bit. He does still have some front end damage. Brandon Massey still getting some things repaired. You can see the little scuff on the left side. Not sure if he's going to have too much wheel damage. John Smith down there still with his squad, just sitting by the car. I guess they're having a nice little chat. I don't even see the driver in the car, so he might have ran to go to the bathroom or something. But
yeah,
that's going to make your leader right now, Thomas McLaughlin, who did not pit. Behind him, you're going to have Brandon Lopez. I believe Joe Tardif there in that 48 car is going to get a lucky dog here in just a second, which is why he's up front. Ira Kohlhaas starting in third, Kirby Wainscott in fourth, Greg McConey fifth. Frank Marchese is going to be in sixth, Kinsley Smith in seventh, Zachary Baker coming out of that eighth, Dagan Barnes in ninth, and John Smith coming around the track right now to take that 10th place spot. Coming back around here, these guys are double filed up right now. Pace lights are off. You're going to see them dive down the pace or the pit lane here in just a second, and we are going to get back going green. Brandon Lopez on the outside, Thomas McLaughlin on the inside here.
Pace car makes that hard left-hand turn. These guys get back up to speed, restart on the leader. So once that leader hits the restart zone, they are good to get back going. Green flag flying in the air. And these guys start cranking through those gears, trying to get that thing back up and going. And away they go there. Again, you just see that low side getting so much push, especially there on the restart. Thomas McLaughlin down there on that low side getting a huge push from Ira Kohlhaas. Then Brandon Lopez saw him lead the majority of the laps there. Get over that first green flag run. Trying to get back up to his position there.
Yeah, I'm trying to see that's Kirby Wainscott. I about called him Adam Wainwright again on that high side, trying to make a push on the third lane at the very top. Got some help in Frank Marchese, Zachary Baker right behind him, Brandon Lopez in the middle. No one to draft with, out to dry. He's going to fall back into that bottom line. Thomas McLaughlin here out front as your leader. Ira Kohlhaas right behind him. Greg McConey in third, and teammate Kinsley Smith in the 15 car sitting behind McConey.
That was your pick for the night, and then you were kind of right there in that mix, trying to get back up there after you went to grab a sandwich, maybe took a bathroom break, but I think you were sitting back there about 8th at this point, trying to get caught back up. And you see these guys go single file again, because you see some of these guys, Brandon Lopez right there on the high side, just looking to see if he can get any help out there and just not really getting anything. We talked about it while the race was happening. It used to be at Talladega before, I'd say about the last 2 updates, you could really kind of side draft your way all the way to the front if you wanted to. You'd burn them up, and it wouldn't last if somebody really tried to kind of side draft you back. But as long as you were the one kind of in control of the situation, you could really make up a lot of ground. And after the last couple updates, that just really isn't the case anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of one of my my soapboxes I think I'll stand on for iRacing. And iRacing does such a good job with the physics and how the car actually handles compared to real life. And if anybody follows DJ Yee on YouTube, he is an iRacer, does a lot of iRacing content to the point where he's able to go to these actual NASCAR events and talk with drivers. And I believe it was Christopher Bell that he was talking to that was talking about how similar iRacing is to the real thing out here driving. But with that said, there is 2 little pieces of plexiglass on both sides of the car called a shark fin. And I'll try to pull up a better view here for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So you see right there on the back windshield of Greg McConey, there's one on the left and one on the right. But if you notice, the one on the left actually has another piece that goes all the way down to the deck lid and all the way to the spoiler on the back, but the right side does not. So you're able to side draft a little bit better on the right side. But the side draft on the left side is not really existent. It's that air tries to squeeze between the cars, it will just flush over the spoiler itself. Whereas on the right, it will go between that gap and push down on the car a little bit more, causing a little bit more drag. So I don't, whenever drivers say they're trying to side draft on the left side, I don't really buy that. But side drafting on the right side still kind of exists. It's just not as great with these next-gen cars. Especially coming from a car like the ARCA car, which I race a lot of in this iRacing series. But ARCA car has some crazy side draft to it. I mean, you can almost pull somebody back 3 whole spots if you get beside them.
Yeah, if you want to catch the Knapp Daddy guys, more of those POV views like we were talking about on Monday night, as you see Greg McConey head to the high side there, try to get the lead away from Ira Kohlhaas here in the late running of stage 1 here. You can catch us live on our TikTok on Tuesday nights for the Doghouse Racing ARCA series, or if you want to tune in on YouTube, that is put on by Intensity Broadcasting. They do a really good job over there as well. But if you want to catch the Knapp Daddy boys not in the booth and you want to see us on the track and see our beautiful faces and cracking some jokes, come check us out on the TikTok.
This stage right here will come to an end once the 10th place driver crosses the finish line and make it lap 21, and we will have a stage break. These cars are only getting about 21 laps of fuel tonight, and there's 113 laps, so there's going to be a lot of fuel stops, a lot of green flag stops. You're going to really have to work together and figure out when everybody's pitting and try to go with them. You don't want to get stuck by yourself with no draft help, because that is just a life sentence there for your race.
As you see him come firing around turn 4 here. Greg McConey down there on the low side. His teammate Kensley Smith up there on the high side, really, really close running. I think Kensley was able to get it away from him at the end, but it was really, really close racing there. Really good pushing there on the high side. I think really one of the first times we've seen the high side kind of work to success here tonight, because most of the night the low side has just been the place to be.
Yeah, you're going to see these guys get a really good run on the high side, just mainly on the straights for the first part, but I think or not the first part, but the very end, the first part of the corner. But once you're going through the corners, those guys on the low side are definitely going to be able to pull away a lot more. And you were right, that stage is going to go to Kensley Smith, second place Frank Marchese, Kirby Wayne Scott. I'm sorry, that first stage actually goes to Greg McConey and then Kensley Smith. I'm trying to see the interval is going to be by 0.016 seconds.
Really good stuff out of those guys there at the end of that stage. That's exactly what you want. The kind of the benefit of having stages is you just get guys really, really pushing. Kind of puts a little bit more excitement in the race. Talladega can end up being, guys trying to play it safe, maybe trying to save some fuel, can get a little single file, and guys just kind of Sunday cruising out there, and puts a little spice into things, gets these guys back out there and running and pushing for spots and pushing for points as we are about to close out this inaugural season of the Knapp Daddy Cup Series.
Yeah, Brandon Lopez leading 11 of those laps there. Trying to get the most laps led point tonight. I believe he's in pretty good shape as of right now for that, but things could definitely change over the course of this run. Other leaders, Thomas McLaughlin had 6 laps led on that first stint. Ira Kohlhaas with 1 lap led, and Greg McConey leading 2 laps there. Brandon's going to pick up 7 stage points for that run. Ira Kohlhaas picking up 8. Kirby Wayne Scott finishing in 5th there. Frank Marchese 6th. Zachary Baker 7th. Jonathan Smith in 8th. Dagan Barnes 9th. And Brandon Massey in 10th place there. And then Thomas McLaughlin also picking up 1 stage point, since Jonathan Smith will not be taking points for the race tonight.
Just out there to help out with the car count, not trying to take points away from anybody. Just trying to make sure that we have a good, fun night here at Dega.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's going to bring it in here after that stage, except for Joe Tardif there. Tardif a lap down, so he's going to try to get that lucky dog spot. He will probably bring it down next time around, though.
Believe that is going to be the case. You see these guys, this is their first chance to get down there and get tires. As anybody that pitted on that first stage, or before the first stage, just came down to gas and go, like you said before. Only about 21, maybe 22 laps of gas in these cars here tonight for the Alabama 300 at Dega. So really encourages pit stop strategy, encourages people to think about when they're going to pit. If we have those long green flag runs, who they're going to try to come down with, because we talked about it before. I mean, the draft at Talladega is absolutely everything, as people know. So, I mean, if you come down pit road and you don't have any help and you can't get caught up back to the pack or don't have anyone behind you, just you coming down for your green flag run is pretty much going to throw a wrench in your night.
Yeah, absolutely. You do not want to get left out to dry at all. I think I've mentioned this a few times over the past week to you and some other people. I'd rather be wrecked at Daytona than left out to dry multiple times by somebody. Because in my mind, I know I'm going to get wrecked regardless. It's a Talladega, Daytona thing. It happens. I'm less mad about that, and I'm more upset when somebody leaves you hanging. You know, you're drafting with them pretty well, and all of a sudden they just pull right back in and cut you off, or not cut you off specifically, but cut off your draft you have. I like to imagine it like you're riding your car down the road, and you could put your hand out your window behind your side view mirror and not feel any air on your hand. But the second that you stick that hand outside that side view mirror, you're going to catch all of that wind. And that's kind of what it's like losing the draft. You're feeling pretty good, no wind pushing back on your car, and then all of a sudden the car in front of you cuts down to the bottom line, and all that wind comes right back on your car and really, really slows you down.
Talked about it at the beginning of this broadcast. I mean, when you're without the draft at Talladega, you're looking at times that are somewhere between 5 and 6 seconds slower across the whole, across the entirety of the track, which is crazy when you consider that, you know, most of racing is measured in tenths and in hundredths. When we just talked about it there, Greg McConey getting that stage by 0.0016 or whatever it ended up being. And then you're talking about you lose the draft and all of a sudden you're 5 seconds off the pace. I mean, it's just death.
Yeah, as long as you could stay there, at least hang around the front pack. That's all you have to do. You don't have to be in the front the whole race. You kind of don't want to be in the front the whole race. We can talk about that a little bit later. But as long as you can stay with that draft, you don't even have to push full throttle. You can almost go 75% throttle most of the race, save yourself a little bit of fuel, and you're still going to keep up with the pack. It's a long race. You don't want to push too hard and make a really over-aggressive move and cost yourself a race and somebody else.
100%. That's something that we definitely try to encourage out of the drivers here in the Knapp Daddy Cup Series. We want fun racing. We want strategic racing. We want hard competitive racing. But we don't want it to end up in too many cautions. We don't want it to be a parking lot for people. We want as many people as started the race to finish the race would be the ideal scenario. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case for our very own Baker Knapp here tonight. But still have the majority of our guys that we started with out there, and I know they're getting ready to get restarted here. So just get back to racing action.
It was a shame. I actually never even saw Baker out there on the track when I was out there racing on Monday night. I was hoping I can link up with him and give him a little push. And actually, Brandon Lopez messaged me right before this race started and asked if I could help him out tonight. You know, just, you want to find a good teammate, find some guys you can work with. He messaged me, we should work together tonight. And I said, okay, absolutely sounds good. And then I couldn't catch up with him the whole night. So
Brandon was just a little bit too fast.
Yeah. That's why he is your current points leader. But Ira Kohal sitting here at first place right now. Starting on that inside row, Kinsley Smith on the outside. Ira going to get a push from Frank Marchese, and Kirby Wainscott pushing Kinsley Smith here, his teammate, as we get going back green as soon as they hit this restart zone.
And getting back underway here at Dega. Lap 25 when they cross the stripe. Yeah, I don't think there's too many more things exciting on the NASCAR circuit than the restart at Dega. But they hit that line. Ira Kohlhaas takes off, getting pushed by Frank Marchese. Kensley Smith up there on that high side. And again, you just see that low side just absolutely take off. Ira Kohlhaas immediately out there to a nice lead. Frank Marchese even trying to get caught up to him right there. See Zach Baker down there trying to get caught up as well. Dagan Barnes pushing up on that low side as well. And you see those guys back in the back just trying to get caught back up to the tail end, knowing that you can't get caught back up. That's pretty much going to be the end of your night. Joe Tardif got his lap back there, was trying to get caught back up. Thomas McLaughlin also back there. Tough for Thomas McLaughlin as well. We saw him get some laps led earlier on in the race. Now back there in 12th place.
Right along here with Joe Tardif, as he's trying to stay behind the longest line, the one that reaches to him most. See if he can catch any kind of draft. Looks like he's caught up to it just a little bit, and now he's going to start pulling in. Kind of backing off there just a little bit. Maybe an early fuel saving strategy.
Yeah, again, with the cars only having the fuel capacity tonight to get about 21, maybe 22 laps. Even at this point, we're on lap 26 here of 113. Next stage break coming at lap 50. These cars don't have enough gas to get to that stage break. So, I mean, even at this point, you had the guys kind of going through the strategies in their head of what can they do and what can't they do. You see Frank Marchese jump out there to the high side. He's got his teammate back there, Greg McConey, waiting to catch it.
Yeah, I want to pull up our head-to-head matchup for tonight. Two guys you got to watch out for: Frank Marchese, Kirby Wainscott. These guys are both pretty close in the points right now, separated by 1 point. Top 10 rating is about the same. Frank Marchese with a 109 overall, and Kirby Wainscott with a 97.2 rating. Definitely going to be a good time. Good two drivers to watch. These guys have been battling out all season. And I know they're teammates, but you're teammates until Jesus comes back or the white flag's in the air. So, and it's whichever comes first.
And it is whichever comes first. And we've seen a couple times this year where guys are battling at the end, even teammates for the win. And again, we encourage that sort of competition over here in the Knapp Daddy Cup Series. And if you fancy yourself a competitive, safe iRacer, then be sure to hit us up either here in the comments or on Discord. We can put you in touch with one of the admins or get in touch with us. Get you a part of the Knapp Daddy Cup Series. We said earlier we do have a new season coming up after the new year. Definitely going to be running some recruitment races, trying to drum up some big car counts for next year. We'd love to take this thing to the next level next year. This is our inaugural season here. Only got 2 more races before we bring this thing to a close for this year, and those guys get that prize at the end. They're looking to increase that car count a little bit more, get some more people in here, get some more sponsors involved. So if you want to get involved with the Knapp Daddy Cup Series, be sure to reach out to us. We'd love to have you be a part of it.
And Kirby Wainscott goes all the way to the top side there. You see just how much that draft helps as he falls all the way back, going to file back in towards the middle. Your new leader right now is going to be Ira Kohlhaas, the newcomer.
Again, Ira, this is his first race here with us, and just showed up really, really well. I mean, already led some laps out here. Running it about as good as you can at Talladega. Talladega is pretty much just driving around really, really fast in a big circle and just praying to God that nothing bad happens. And you can see, as these guys go into that corner, you can see the front end of that car sparking off. What's the thing that's going to cause those sparks as these guys are entering those turns right there?
Really what it is that diffuser there at the bottom of the car near the back. You can see the little, what they call forks sticking out there, as that air helps redistribute the air. Not really redistribute, push the air underneath the car in more of a straight pattern to reduce a lot of that drag there that you're going to have. But it does hang out a little bit lower than the car than the rest of it, and when you drop the back end of that car down so low that you will start to get some sparking like that. So a lot of these guys underneath caution are able to lift the back end of the car. They'll lift the back end up just a little bit in a normal league, and like a not a normal league, but an open series setup. This is a fixed series setup, so we cannot make any pit stop adjustments. But I think naturally a lot of these guys would lift that back end up maybe a quarter of an inch, maybe a half an inch. Definitely going to make you a little bit more loose by doing that, but Talladega, it's not worth it. Tear up your car on the bottom side. It just doesn't really matter how loose you are there, but
you kind of saw talking about the draft differences and people pushing, people not pushing enough. You saw Ira Kohlhaas, who'd been on that low side there, doing really, really well, and then Dagan Barnes was on his way up to the front of the pack. Had a little bit of a damaged car, just not quite able to hold the speed there that he needed to stay on the bumper of Ira Kohlhaas, and you just saw Ira Kohlhaas slip all the way back to 8th, end up having to jump back in line. So right now up at the front, you got Team Trash Panda 1, 2, 3, Zach Baker, Kensley Smith, and Kirby Wayne Scott, and they are all pushing so well. I really think, I mean, they're 1 through 5 right here at this point. You also got Frank Marchese and Greg McConey as a part of that line, and they're making the top lane work.
Yeah, what they're trying to do is all get past John Smith and Brandon Lopez there on the bottom-hand side, and they'll drop down together. That way you don't leave any teammate hanging out there by himself. You keep that 5-car pack, and you can see just how well a 5-car pack here does compared to, it was a 3-car pack earlier, but I believe that's Brandon Massey going to catch up. But you have to be very tight to keep that bottom lane and order the top lane going, and Team Trash Band has been really good at that here at this race, able to stick very close, get extremely good runs. Dagan Barnes diving down to the bottom side there to take the bottom line away. Going to try his hand at it, try to get a good push from John Smith here.
Team Trash Panda up there just doing such a good job working together. I mean, you see how well Zach Baker and Kensley Smith are pushing right there. I know you're trying to give Dagan Barnes a bump here on the low side as well, but you also have to consider Dagan's already got that damage on his car. So his arrow is not going to be working the same as most of these other cars out on the track right now.
Yeah, the whole trick too is you have to line them up just perfect, and it is a lot harder than it seems when you're right behind somebody. To get right behind them, make sure they hold it straight, you got to hold it straight. You're trying to keep the straightest line possible or the most consistent line possible. That whole Trash Panda team now going to dive down to the bottom side. It's like Joe Tardif going to link up with those guys as well. Joe was our winner last week at Michigan.
Joe's trying to get caught up there on the bottom side, trying to get caught up to the bumper of Greg McConey there. So you can be part of that front pack, and that front pack is really where you want to be. Keeps you out of trouble here at Talladega. But honestly, especially in a fuel-saving situation, the front is not where you want to be. I know here in the Knapp Daddy Cup Series, you do get a point for leading a lap, but we don't do a point for every lap led or anything like that. So realistically, at this point, being in first is not really where you want to be, because you are losing the most fuel being at the front of that pack.
And Joe Tardif falling back here all the way to the back. Ira Kohlhaas also going to get around him to see if he squeezes in between Ira Kohlhaas there and Brandon Massey. And he does, but coming back to the front, Zachary Baker in that 12 car going to be your leader. Kensley Smith behind him. Then you have Wayne Scott, Marchese, McConey, and Dagan Barnes all trying to chase down the leader here. Lap 36, probably going to start seeing some green flag stops here over the next few minutes or a few laps.
Yeah, we go back to it, but this really has to be a fuel strategy race, given the amount of fuel that was in the tank. Kind of came about as a little bit of a happy accident for us. We wanted to make these races a little more strategy forward. And so I believe it was like 4 or 5 races ago. Um, we tried to tone the fuel capacity down a little bit, and then going in, we were like, oh, I think we messed that up. I think we cranked it down way too far. This is going to be a nightmare. And then, we get into the lobby after the race, and we're like, hey guys, we're gonna work on this. We're gonna try to narrow in the fuel capacity a little bit more. Again, inaugural season, you're gonna have some kinks you have to work out, maybe make a few changes, and overwhelmingly the response was no, don't change it. That made the race so much more fun. It added a strategic element to it. Guys that maybe aren't your week in, week out fastest guys, like, that gives me a chance, because I may not be able to shave 8/10 off my lap time, but I can be smart. It gives me an extra chance. It makes me want to get out there and run it. So ever since then, we've been trying to make it a little bit interesting with the fuel capacity, and I think it's been really, really fun to see.
Yeah, and I think this race we might have toned it down just a little too much. I mean, 20 laps of fuel on a 113 lap race is kind of wild, but after the race was over, little talk with everybody. I think everybody had a lot of fun here, and it was a nice little mix-up, little unique. But I think next year, if we do Talladega or Daytona, I think the fuel might be out just a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe cranked it down a little bit too far, got a little bit too big for our britches, but either way, it was a good time, and everybody was having a good time out here. This is kind of what we were talking about earlier, what you can kind of get at Talladega when you have those long green flag runs. You don't have guys that are trying to change it around too much, especially there at the front. You got a lot of teammates up there running. They're just trying to hold that low line. It's where everyone's been the fastest all night long. You're not going to see too many guys try to challenge it or push too hard, especially as we're coming up to that green flag fuel window where the guy's going to have to bring it down pit road. These guys are kind of just out there Sunday cruising, just trying to keep it straight and keep the tires under it.
Yeah, and really you're just kind of sizing the other guy up right now, because you're going to have to make a run here at the end for stage points in the next 10 laps or so. So after the pit road strategy happens, you got to get up with some good friends and try to get to the front and get your points. But we will see what happens here as we're approaching lap 40. Probably going to see some green flag stops here in the next 2 laps.
I was going to say, and you see some guys jump out of line there just a little bit, and you might think, oh, maybe they're trying to start a lane, maybe they're trying to do something. Realistically, at this point, they're just trying to get a little bit of air into that thing. Pushing at Talladega really takes it out of these cars. It cranks up your engine temperature so high. It's something you have to consider, especially if you're a guy like Kensley Smith, who's been doing such a good job of pushing here tonight. You stay under that bumper there too long of Zachary Baker, you will blow your engine up.
And it's happened quite a few times, but got to make sure you're able to go up a little bit high, maybe a little bit low to get some of that nice air like he's doing right there. You see Kensley Smith sitting on just a little bit lower to catch some air and cool that car down and get a good push behind your leader in Zachary Baker.
And then right back to the bumper there, getting a good push going. Again, you just see these guys right now. It's just single file. You're sizing up the next guy, trying to figure out if you can make a move, when you can make a move, when somebody's going to come down pit road. So at this point, you got to be sizing that up too, because you got to be trying to strategize when you're going to go down and who you're going to go down with as you start to see the green flag pit stops get underway here. Dagan Barnes going off the track a little bit, trying to get it slowed down, trying to make a play for our John Deere Green Award here tonight. Appreciate Dagan doing a little bit of landscaping for us, but you see him come down pit road. You see John Smith there. You see Brandon Lopez also coming down.
Yeah, I forgot.
That 48 car back there of Joe Tardif.
The cool thing here is on replays, you can actually watch your pit crew put in the work. And that was a wild call to do a 4-tire stop here. And John Smith's actually serving a black flag penalty for a 40-second hold.
Yeah, I believe on that caution, as you see, or not that caution, on that green flag pit stop run, You see Team Trash Panda bringing it down here. You see some of them locking the brakes up as well. Someone else joining back behind them for the pit road run. I believe on that last green flag run, I believe both you and Dagan had to serve speeding penalties.
And I think Dagan had to serve a little bit different of a penalty too, because he entered about a quarter way down the pit lane there. I think there's a rule in the book that says you cannot do that. So
there's a cone there.
Yeah, black flag for that. So these guys start rolling out. Kirby Wayne Scott leading that Trash Panda pack, followed by Kinsley Smith, Greg McConey, Frank Marchese behind them. Got to get all the way around to this back stretch. There will be a blue cone, which will indicate the blend line where you can actually move back on the track. So these guys will cross it right about here. There it is.
That's another thing you have to be careful about. I know we talked about it a little bit. For those that don't know, pretty much all of our time in iRacing, I've been either in the spotter booth or the broadcaster booth, but John got started in iRacing actually driving and out here being competitive and trying to win races. And I just got my first wheel courtesy of Knapp Daddy Racing. So really excited about it. But my first official time racing was John trying to give me some training at Talladega, and I wasn't paying close enough attention to that blend line. And you don't realize how steep Talladega is until you're trying to go up it.
And it looks like John's not the one that should be giving you the training, as he is a lap down right now, getting passed by that Trash Panda team, having to serve that black flag. Going to jump back in line and try to catch up with that draft there, Frank Marchese. And right now, he will be in the lucky dog position. Dagan Barnes also a lap down, coming around the front stretch right now. Also got Thomas McLaughlin 2 laps down, coming out of turn 2. Checking in with Joe Tardif, Brandon Lopez, Zachary Baker here. Got a pack of 3 trying to catch up to the leaders. I believe they are going to be about 6 seconds, a little less than 6 seconds behind the leaders right now.
And we talked about it earlier, but especially in some previous iRacing updates, I mean, the 3-car pack, it might not be enough to push you back up to the front. You'd be gaining a little bit of time as long as y'all were drafting really well. And it seems like now, especially when you have a front pack like that is drafting so well, mostly Team Trash Panda guys there, and then you have yourself there at the tail end of that line, like you talked about, in the lucky dog position. But a 3-car pack is realistically going to lose time, even if they're drafting as good as you can do it on a bigger pack like this.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger pack would have to be spread out more, and then the 3-car pack needs to be linked up a whole lot. But it can happen, but it just seems like it's not as likely as it used to be in these next-gen cars. Maybe the ARCA cars, those cars are kind of crazy with the draft. I mean, almost too much.
It's a lot. Those ARCA cars, the way they draft is kind of crazy, and especially when you're trying to pull in at a track like Dega, where you're like, oh, I'm just going to go up here and give him a little bump, and all of a sudden you're flying into his bumper. You're like, oh, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like magnets they place on the front and back of these cars. If you get close enough, it pulls you right up to the bumper. And you don't even have to be close enough. You could be almost halfway on the backstretch, I feel like, and somebody can still catch up with you. Might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but we're coming here to lap 47. Going to have a stage break at lap 50, so when the 10th place driver crosses the line to make it lap 51, which is going to be Jonathan Smith there in that 13 car. If you see on the left-hand side of your screen, that's marked as 701, and Baker Knapp lists as 703 to indicate admin or broadcasters for the league. Non-racers, I should say. That's how we sort them out there.
But yeah, it is a little interesting when you see, like, when we come into these stage breaks, you're like, oh, they just crossed the line. Why's the flag not come out? And then you remember it's really once the 10th place driver comes across, in this case it'd be the 9th place driver, waiting for someone that is on the lead lap to get around there. I believe it was Brandon Massey that actually just went on a lap down there. As you saw that lead pack get around him, still leaving John Smith in that lucky dog position. And Brandon was dealing with a little bit of pit road trouble as well. Had some damage as well from that first caution that we had. That's where Dagan Barnes got his damage as well. But I mean, realistically, at this point, it is just a pretty dominating performance out of Team Trash Pandas. We've seen them link up so well, work so well as a team together. As we approach the end of stage 2 here, Kirby Wainscott still leading this thing. He's got his teammate Kensley Smith, which I don't even think we talked about it enough during the live broadcast on Monday night, but Kensley Smith, what a job he did as a drafting partner tonight.
Yeah, he's out there really pushing it, really doing his part, being a role player. That's the kind of guy you want on Sundays, you know. Knows his role, does it well. Got Greg McConey blinking out just a little bit there.
I believe this is one of those other things in retrospect where we had some internet issues. I think Greg ended up finding out that his wife was trying to download some AutoCAD files while he was in the middle of the race. And for those that have worked in engineering or design and have ever tried to open a CAD file, those things are massive and take up so much CPU space, take up so much of your bandwidth. It doesn't even really matter if you have great internet. Unless you're hardwired in, that is going to do a number on everything else that is in the household. And I think that affected Greg a little bit right there. You see him do the courteous thing, drop out of line there to make sure you don't cause any trouble for anybody else.
Yeah, he's still got some blinking there, but he's going to have a good run being that far back from the bumper, John Smith. So he's going to have a great run coming out of this corner. Kensley Smith jumping to the outside, trying to make a move for some points here. Marchese, same thing. McConey dives to the inside. Not in time, though. Kensley Smith going to take that stage there. It's going to be Kensley Smith, Frank Marchese, Kirby Wainscott, Greg McConey, Zach Baker, Brandon Lopez. So you see the other guys. Joe Tariff just crossing the line. Cole Haas in 8th place. And then Brandon Massey will also get stage points for that as well.
I think you were talking about it a little bit earlier. We talked repeatedly about how well Team Trash Panda is running as a team tonight, and then racing to that line there, trying to get those stage points. I mean, it's playoff time. Every point's going to matter. You saw those guys kind of scatter around a little bit, and Kensley Smith, who'd been doing such a good job being the pusher here tonight, able to jump back out there, use a great run, and get those 10 bonus points for the end of stage 2.
That's going to bring out our stage caution. We are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. We are back. Got some pit road strategy going on underneath this stage caution. Kensley Smith bringing it in. Just about everybody behind him coming down as well. I think the exception to that is going to be John Smith keeping it out there, giving the pace car a little bit of a draft. A little too much of a draft there. So he gets
about
that
half your hoods in the bumper there.
Yeah, just try to really minimize that drag. So we're going to get our lap back here and come around as the lucky dog. Going to put him back on the lead lap. Meanwhile, Kensley Smith wins the battle off pit road. See Frank Marchese coming out there. Greg McConey, Kirby Wainscott, Joe Tardif, Brandon Lopez coming. You're a Cole Haas. You see Thomas McLaughlin get ahead. He's going to be 3 laps down. Dagan Barnes 2 laps down. I believe John Smith here is going to bring it down this time. Take some fuel. Get it ready for this last stint. Well, the last, I should say, 60-some laps.
Yeah, I was going to say a stint might be a way of phrasing that. Last 60 couple laps, my math is failing me. I apologize. It's been a long day. I guess it'd be 70 laps, wouldn't it? No,
No.
60.
Yeah, it's been a tough day, man. I understand.
Oh.
But we'll be right back here with the more action when we go green here in a second.
Welcome back here to the Knapp Daddy Racing League for the Alabama 300 at Talladega Superspeedway. Pace car making that hard left turn as we are about to get restarted. After that conclusion of stage 2, we saw Kensley Smith take in exciting fashion. Seeing everybody get lined back up here as we go to get this thing restarted. Frank Marchese going to be taking the race lead here. Kensley Smith going to be in second. Greg McConey going to be in third. Brandon Lopez going to be fourth. Kirby Wayne Scott fifth. Joe Tardif going to be sixth. Ira Kohlhaas going to be seventh. Zach Baker going to be eighth. John Smith being ninth. Got a couple guys a lap down. Brandon Massey going to be one lap down. Dagan Barnes is going to also be a lap down. Thomas McLaughlin going to be 3 laps down.
Yeah, and that restart was a little weird just because of the wave around rules and stuff, so everybody had to start at the tail end of the longest line. Because McLaughlin was 3 laps down. And just the way it panned out. But all confusion aside, we're all here, we're all clear, and Frank Marchese's out in first place right now with Kensley Smith right on his heels.
I can tell you, up until that point there at the end of that run, at the end of stage 2, we saw Kensley Smith pretty much be the pusher the whole way through. We saw him scatter at the end, get himself out in front, take those 10 bonus points for that win of stage 2. Reminder for everybody at home, for the stages here in the Knapp Daddy Racing League, first place gets a bonus of 10 points, second 9, 8, or I'm sorry, third 8, and so on and such forth. I normally follow that with, I feel like everyone can do that math, but my own math confused me right there. See Frank all the way out there, kind of left up there on the high side. I think he might have been trying to start a third lane right there, but nothing doing. And you see John right there giving Ira Kohlhaas a big push all the way up to the front. Looked like Ira wanted to go down right there, didn't quite have it. Trying to get it here done on this next lap. You see Joe Tardif now out there in front being pushed by Kensley Smith. Kensley Smith just taking that role of being the drafter instead of the draftee here at Talladega. And I mean, again, I don't think we'd really talked about it quite enough during the actual live broadcast on Monday night, but I mean, Kensley Smith was just teammate of the year out here tonight.
Yeah, he's giving some really good pushes. John Smith back there trying to give Ira Kohlhaas a good push, but not getting anything going on that high side. Greg McConey coming around trying to help his teammates out. Just saw Ira Kohlhaas and John Smith fall back in line. So you can see the whole field right there, almost single file. Everybody is single file at this point on the back stretch. Got Brandon Lopez right behind Jonathan Smith there.
And again, when you have kind of a long run ahead of you, especially in this case where there is limited fuel in the tank, everybody kind of knows at Talladega, I mean, you want to be in a safe position. You don't want to be stuck way back in the back. Unfortunately, tonight we had kind of a lower car count, so it wasn't like really a second pack to get stuck in or anything like that. But in a case like this, I mean, there really is no point to be trying to jump out, cause a bunch of new lanes, burn a bunch of gas to get to the front. You still have so much racing left to do. Really, all you need to focus on at this point is start strategizing on who you can go with, who's your teammate going to be, and when you're going to make your run. So at this point, you're really only kind of hurting yourself in the long run if you try to start making a lot of stuff happen here, as we're not even on lap 60 of 113.
Yeah, lap 60 just over halfway as these guys approach the stripe here. Still got a lot of racing to do. Expect to see probably 2, 3, almost 3 more pit stops before this thing's over with.
Yeah, I know we kind of alluded to it earlier, but we've been trying to make some interesting fuel strategies for these races, and I think realistically, up until tonight, we kind of accidented. We made an accident.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful accident. It's really made a lot of fun, and I think added a neat little twist into the league, which, you know, this is our first foray into running our own iRacing series, and really learned a lot over the course of the year, man. I mean, it's been super, super fun to meet all these new drivers and kind of go through the process. Been a ton of work. We've had a ton of help from a lot of guys as well. It's been really, really fun. But I think over the course of this, we've done a lot of really cool things that I'm really, really proud of. I'm proud of our broadcasting. I'm proud of the drivers for coming out there and putting on a show and being competitive. But there's also a lot of things that you learn. And, you know, one of those things was kind of changing up the fuel strategy a little bit. I think we kind of made a neat little twist in most of these races. I think we might have cranked it down a little bit too far on this one, because we kind of made it a green flag pit stop heavy race, maybe a little bit more than we intended.
Yeah, nothing wrong with accidents though.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be here without them.
You have some. John, the youngest in the family by what, about 6 years?
It's only 3 years, but nothing says accident like naming your kid John Smith. That's we gotta make a decision pretty quick here.
Oh no, we're running out of time.
Yeah, they done gave the name book off to Goodwill, and they don't have it no more. So that was back in the '90s. Can't just go online. And I don't think they want to take the horse and buggy into town to get the book again. So had to come up with one on the fly.
Fun little backstories as we're seeing these guys go around the track in single file. Joe Tardif still leading the race, being pushed by Kensley Smith and Greg McConey. A couple of trash bandit guys there, newcomer Ira Koas right behind them. For those that don't know, me and John actually met each other when we were both in college, and as you all know at this point, from hearing the pretty consistent intro to these broadcasts, my name's Hunter and John's name is John, but the first time that when me and John met when we were in college, and I think his family had come down for a football game that year, all of a sudden everybody starts hollering out, Hunter this and Hunter that, and I was really, really confused, and I was like, I don't know too many Hunters. So anytime someone says Hunter, I turn around like a scared meerkat. I did not realize in the couple months that I've been friends with John that his middle name was Hunter, and his entire family, it's also the same family that named him John Smith, calls him Hunter. And so now, to this day, as me and John have been friends for years now, gone down to his hometown a couple times, get to see the family. It's basically extended family of mine at this point. We go dove hunting and all that good stuff. And I think it's Hunter 1 and Hunter 2 at this point, because I think we've had a couple times where I've heard his mom holler Hunter. And I go turn around, she goes, not you, Hunter, other Hunter.
Yeah. My family, my immediate family calls me by my middle name there. But, I mean, I guess it's not really ironically because it's the most common name in the world. I think third most common name, but there was another John Smith in my town at the same school and same age, and not same age, a little older than me, but they kind of worked out that way, but not entirely sure, but regardless, here we are. Watching some Dega, some accidental Dega, with an accidental broadcast that happened the other day, accidental fuel strategies. And I was going to finish it all saying by this accident here in the booth, but...
Just Bob Rossing it out here. Happy little trees. Yeah. Happy little accidents.
It sounds like a Lumineers album.
Yeah, I can see an album being called like Happy Little Accidents, and it's a guy with like a really big hat and suspenders for no reason. And
they always got to hold the most random object. maybe put it in like a sepia tint.
Yeah, sepia tint.
And they're just holding like a fork in one hand or something.
Yeah, and they're very obviously like on a beach or beach adjacent, and they're holding a snow globe.
Yeah. And that was 2000s indie music for you. They don't make indie music like that anymore. Now we just have Zach Bryan, which is the same thing, just disguised as indie music. It's indie. It is 2000s indie, but with a country accent.
And cuss words.
Yeah.
You didn't hear the Lumineers dropping the F-bomb.
Yeah, they had standards. You didn't see the Lumineers climbing fences. Where is this going?
I don't know. The train has gone entirely off the tracks. But where the train has not gone off the tracks is out here on the track at Talladega, as it really looks like we just have a train out here as Joe Tardif still leading this thing. Kensley Smith, Greg McConey right behind him. Ira Kohlhaas and John Smith rounding out your top 5.
Yeah.
Start to see him.
I think they're playing some mind games.
Yeah, I was going to say, was this when things started to scatter around a little bit, not by your doing, but by everybody else's?
Yeah, so I don't mind what's going off of this for telling this here, but I didn't have the radio on when I was driving this race, kind of to break that fourth wall there. Did not have the radio on, so when I was broadcasting the POV, you couldn't hear the other drivers, but they could all hear each other, and they knew that I couldn't hear them. So they were calling out to each other which lane they were going to draft up into and moving high and then moving low and trying to mess with me, throw me off. And I caught on to it. Then I started to try to make some passes and move around some people. And it obviously did not work at all. But
part that was cracking me up is we're all kind of multitasking here because John is trying to broadcast while also being behind the wheel of a car. Baker is trying to broadcast while eating a chicken sandwich in the infield. I'm trying to broadcast while also like running race control and being able to listen to the radio, hear what the drivers are saying in case like any black flags need to be thrown, yellow flags, anything like that. And so like John said, again, we're kind of breaking the fourth wall here, giving an insight into the broadcasts a little bit, but we see John trying to drop down there and side draft a little bit, but John's not able to hear the rest of the drivers, which is typical of a Knapp Daddy Racing broadcast. We don't put the drivers' radios over the broadcast. These guys are competitive. Some of them are friends. They're trying to talk to each other, and sometimes, big boys use big boy words. And we try to avoid putting that over the broadcast just so, if you're watching it with your kid or you're with your granny or whatever, no one's going to get offended by any of the language that gets used. The downside is that in this situation where John is on the track, it's borderline necessary for him to be able to hear the radio. And so this entire time, these guys are trying to mess with him by kind of changing lanes and moving around because they can all talk to each other and John can't hear them. I can. So I'm trying to do this broadcast. I'm trying to listen into the radio to make sure I'm not missing anything that I need to handle as like a race admin or race control. And it's just a bunch of guys laughing because they know they're screwing with John.
Yeah, they just dropped back down low again. I mean, I told him after the race, too, it does take a lot of talent to get a whole group of people to kind of Blue Angels it across Talladega and go in swan formation. And
I'm honestly kind of blown away, realistically, looking back at this, that nobody ended up with a tin can for a car as a result of this.
Yeah, I was going to see how far I could get ahead here, but nothing doing. You get out about 2 car lengths and pull right back in.
I was going to say, you jump out, again, going back to a point we were making earlier where, it used to be that you being up there, adjacent to a line that had a good draft, you'd be able to get a crazy side draft. Like, I would argue borderline be able to get up to the side of that 48 car of Joe Tardif leading the race. Don't know if you'd be able to complete the pass, but you'd at least be able to get to that point. And now, like you're talking about using the side draft here, you're maybe able to get up to side by side with the next car in front of you, but that's about as far as you go.
Yeah, it is not that far that you can go. It's like Joe Tardif, Kinsley Smith here. Kinsley Smith going to take the race lead on the inside. Tardif's going to keep dropping back. Tardif going to fall in front of Lopez.
Kinsley Smith been the pusher here all night long. And again, we talked about it before, but at Talladega especially, and especially in a race like this where the fuel strategy is going to be so limited, first place isn't really where you want to be. I mean, it's nice to get laps led. It's nice to know that being out in first, you're kind of safe from all the trouble that can befall you at Talladega, but you burn a not insignificant amount more gas being out in front at Dega.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's going on here. As you see Tardif dropping back there, Greg McConey dropping back. These guys are going to try to save a little bit of fuel. You don't want to be out front right now. I think this is about where it started to click for a lot of people, where they're going to be at the end on fuel, and just about how much they need to save, as they're going to bring it down for bring it down for, I think, the last time for the next 20 laps, which will be lap 92 the next time they have to bring these cars down pit road.
Yeah, and I think a lot of guys had the same idea. I think you were talking about it a little bit, kind of live in the moment during our broadcast on Monday, but I think a lot of guys kind of had the same idea right here, where it's okay, I can come down right now. That'll get me to lap 92, 93, which then will get me all the way to the end, assuming, no cautions or any big holdups or anything like that. So you saw most of the cars come down there. Kinsley Smith, I believe Ira Kohlhaas came down there. Greg McConey, really one of the only ones electing to stay out, and I believe some of our lap traffic stayed out as well. Then you see Greg bring it down the very next lap.
Yeah, it's going to make Kinsley Smith your leader when they come around here and this thing cycles out.
There's that 3-car pack that we were talking about. You guys have to be doing such a good job. I mean, you really have to be perfect if you're going to be in a 3-car pack and get anything done. Because otherwise, anybody that's in a link-up that has more cars than yours, they could be doing less of a good job and still be pulling away.
Yeah, what's crazy is Greg McConey coming off pit road right now. As you can see Greg McConey out there in front by himself, going to try to blend back in. And I mean, you don't time it much better than that. That's pretty flawless.
Yeah, you see him, and that's where you start praying to Talladega Jesus right there. When you're trying to blend back up, you got a pack in front of you. In this case, got a little bit of saving grace because he's got a big pack right behind him there, but that is a moment you don't want to be in. Assuming Greg didn't have that backup there. Brandon Lopez at the head of that parade behind him, but other than that, if you look out in front of Greg McConey there, that is exactly the spot that you don't want to be in, where you see a pack pulling away from you on the backstretch at Talladega.
Looking out the front view of Greg McConey's car, definitely not going to catch a draft there by any means, but he does have some good help, some good push behind him now. That's going to be Brandon Lopez right behind him, catching up to that bumper. Give him a little push there on the backstretch. Another push. Another push.
A little bit of that iRacing net code there, as you see the cameras start to disappear into the grill a little bit, taking a look inside the carburetor of these machines.
Don't think that's the carburetor.
No, it's not. We're trying to make it funny here.
I love your headset, though.
There in that pack right there, we got Kinsley Smith, Ira Kohlhaas, John Smith, 1, 2, 3 in this thing again. Get that 3-car pack, and then, I mean, realistically, looking back at this, You guys are really doing a good job pushing there as a 3-car pack, but then you just got that parade coming behind you. I mean, there's just nothing you're going to be able to do to hold that off.
Yeah, and Ira's doing a really good job there being that close. The 3rd car in line, you don't want to push the pusher. You want to get close enough to close in that pocket of air, but, I mean, you don't want to have any chance of pushing him. You're going to cause an accordion effect. Then all 3 of you guys are going to bounce separate ways and into separate walls and separate blades of grass.
I mean, it really is crazy, actually, looking at these times on the left-hand side of your screen there to see how much time they close in. Because, I mean, again, I really do think you guys are doing a good job of pushing here. I mean, it's just tenths clocking off every single turn, it seems like. That was 1.5 seconds of a lead that Kensley Smith had on that first car in line, Greg McConey, and I mean, a half a second gone in a lap.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing you can really do. I think we all kind of knew between me and or John Smith up there and Kensley Smith and Ira Kohlhaas, I think we all knew that they were going to catch up eventually. It's just a matter of when it was going to happen.
At this point, you had 9 cars on the lead lap, and everybody kind of all cinched up in the pack here. Zach Baker being your last car on the lead lap, only 1.3 seconds behind the race leader. Brendan Massey is your 10th place car, a lap down in that lucky dog position. Assuming another yellow flag does come out, Dagan Barnes going to be 2 laps down, and Thomas McLaughlin 3 laps down. Which really unfortunate for those guys looking back at it. Both of them did a pretty good job of running here tonight. Dagan Barnes up there at the front a lot in the early going. Thomas McLaughlin getting laps led. We saw him and I believe it was Brandon Lopez working together really, really good at the jump start of this race. Thomas McLaughlin doing a lot of the pushing that actually got Brandon Lopez a lot of his laps led.
Yeah, from that blimp view there, you can see just how close that front pack of 3 was compared to that backpack, and the backpack's still able just to catch up with that many people in line. But Kensley Smith falling out of line, going to fall back just a little bit here to save some fuel, thinking long term as we come down to 35 to go here.
Yeah, John's still sitting in second place there, but Greg McConey gaining and gaining quickly. So starting to see a little bit of separation in the cars, not as much like kind of close pushing as we saw just a few laps ago, but then there goes Brandon Lopez. I know Brandon's a big fan of super speedways. Was really looking forward to getting out there and racing tonight. And he's up there trying to get to the bumper of Greg McConey to push Greg around Ira and John up there up front.
So I think
you talked about it.
You're going to see some guys kind of space out just a little bit here, mainly to save some fuel. So if we'll hop inside of the cockpit cam here with somebody like Brandon Lopez, and I mean, I don't know if at home you can hear this, but he is not fully matted down, doesn't have the gas all the way down. This is probably about 75 to 80% throttle here, trying to save some fuel. And if he were to go pedal to the ground, he would probably catch to the bumper of Greg McConey there in front of him pretty quickly. Kind of the same thing for John Smith here. I don't have it pressed all the way down here, and just very easy trying to save some fuel, make sure I'm staying in that draft.
Feel weird referring to yourself in the third person.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it in the third person, but I keep switching back over because I'm not sure if we're going with a scientific broadcast or an informal paper here. Like you're in school, you got to write all scientific papers had to be in the third person.
And then John Smith discovered he had chicken pox, which then turned into shingles.
Yes, I did have shingles, and that is the worst pain I've ever had in my life.
Which, not to take the train off the tracks again, because we did that earlier, but heck, why not? In all of your life, broken bones, sports injuries, whatever the case may be, shingles is the worst pain you've ever had in your life.
Shingles is absolutely the worst pain I've ever had in my life. I would have appendicitis 10 times at the same time before I have shingles again.
Kidney stones.
I would have 15 kidney stones before I had shingles again at the same time.
At the same time. But again, that was a story from back in college. I remember when John got shingles. I mean, it really had you down for the count for like, I feel like it was like 2 weeks. I remember you eventually went to the doctor. I think it prescribed pain meds. And you were like, this doesn't do anything.
Yeah, the pain meds did absolutely nothing. And it's not like appendicitis where you get it removed and it's like, okay, well, it's going to get better. Or kidney stones where you just get the stone out and you start feeling a little bit better. It is constant pain for about 2 weeks. And it was on my side. A lot of people get it on their face. I could not imagine that. Mine was on my side. And from a medical side, it runs along a nerve, which runs along where your ribs are, which help you breathe, pull up your rib cage and pull down your rib cage to breathe. So sometimes it triggers that nerve a little funny, and it's like you're taking gasps of air, and you can't really breathe that well. And it's not fun. It was terrible. You can't sit on it. You can't touch it. I was told that I have a larger chance to get it again later in life, and I don't know. I think that's my biggest fear in life, is getting shingles again.
Which, on that note there, which I know it didn't work in your case in particular, which is very unfortunate, but get your chickenpox vaccines. Means you're less likely to get shingles. Chickenpox, not that bad. Shingles, bad.
Bad.
The doctor comes in, he's like, you want that chickenpox shot? You say, yes, please, can I have 2?
And what's crazy about it is I have my chickenpox vaccine.
I know, which is crazy. Full advice, do get your chickenpox shot. Did not work for John.
What happened was, I was because the chickenpox vaccine came out, and I think somewhere in the 90s, I think. Maybe it was... I think it was something else. But anyways, I was one of the first people to get this chickenpox vaccine they had coming around my area back in the 90s. And after I got it, 2 weeks later, I developed chickenpox. I think it was like a week later. So realistically, I probably already had it and just didn't know about it when I got vaccinated. Got chickenpox, went and got the varicella vaccine, the herpes zoster vaccine for shingles. And then years later, still caught shingles. So... On the other note, though, I never caught COVID. And I will die on that grave. I am immune to COVID.
We've talked about it before. That's a interesting point. Is I believe we saw someone think about going down pit road. There might have been Greg Blinken again. Saw that standing board change up a little bit. We had a interesting philosophical discussion with a friend one time. See Dagan Barnes there on the inside wall. Just got a little bit loose and just crashed it off that inside wall. Again, unfortunate for Dagan, who overall had a pretty good run here tonight. But we were talking with one of our friends one night, and he said, I'm immortal. And we were like, what are you talking? No, you're not. Nobody's immortal. He's like, I've never died. I've never been in danger of dying. Therefore, I'm immortal. And from a philosophical standpoint, if you're having a strictly philosophical argument, you can't. Because he raises a good point.
He's not wrong. And just like my point, I have never got COVID. I am like Will Smith in I Am Legend.
But for COVID.
Yeah, for COVID. And I'm not just saying it like I took good precautions and stuff like that. Like, no. I was working in the back of the EMS truck. I remember getting the call from my supervisor about we need to check. It's a call to check our email, and the email was that COVID's coming to America, and be on the lookout for this, but no precautions were given. We were still in the back of the truck, just face to face with people, breathing treatments, all this. Nobody cares. And then all of a sudden they came out, you guys got a mask up, gown up. We had these huge masks we were wearing around our face and everything for breathing patients. Gowned up, never once caught COVID. Working in the hospital, we had to get tested about once, I think like once a week at that point. Never once tested positive. And I was
crazy thing onto that.
Face to face with them all day, every day.
The other crazy thing on that was you lived in Florida at the time. And Florida's COVID restriction was maybe if you drink a rum runner, it'll kill COVID.
Man, COVID, they did not care about COVID in Florida.
I remember going to Florida during COVID, and we lived in North Carolina at the time. And so we had probably the most miserable flight down I think I've ever had, because you had to be completely masked up, and being on a plane with a mask on just sucks. Don't know if you ever had to do that. Don't recommend it. But then we go from North Carolina, who not the strictest, but still had, I think, pretty stringent COVID restrictions, and going to Florida, and all of a sudden, they're like, John's like, you guys want to go get something to eat? We're like, sure. Expecting to be the 6 feet, the spaced out tables, and we go to a bar that John's apartment at the time happened to be in. There was people smoking cigarettes inside.
This was like peak COVID too.
Yeah.
Now that one place, they learned from COVID, and they actually banned smoking inside the bar after COVID was over. They said, you know what? This really makes us have some perspective. Let's change some things.
We're going to make the world a easier to breathe place. No more smoking inside. Keeping in mind, this was peak COVID, so whatever year that was, 2022, 2021. Meanwhile, every other restaurant and bar on planet Earth got rid of smoking inside 10 years ago.
Yeah. Florida is a wild place, but wild right now. Ira Kohlhaas and Brandon Massey bringing it down. Both guys, teammates working together tonight, going to take the fuel strategy. These other guys going to try to do the opposite fuel strategy, stay out just a little bit. John Smith sitting out here in the front. He's going to be burning up more fuel than the rest. And I'll kind of break that fourth wall again and explain why I'm swerving there. I'm trying to break the draft from the guy behind me. At this point, I've got my mind made up that we are going to pit soon here anyway, so I want those guys behind me to burn up as much fuel as possible. Don't want them to get in my draft and save fuel.
See John diving down onto pit road there. Who was it that followed you in? Brandon Lopez?
It's going to be Brandon Lopez right there, so I did have some help, a little bit of draft help as we're coming down pit road, and I kind of want to get a little view of this. You can see that pit crew work. Just the gas guy, I mean, taking his time, all lackadaisical and stuff, and just, yeah, I guess I can fill up your car if you want me to.
I like your tire guy back there that is just raring to go.
We have to hold him back sometimes.
That dude is just geared up and ready to change some tires.
It's the one thing he gets paid for, and he is always ready to do it.
He's like that the little forklift on cars. Pit stop. What was that dude's name?
I don't remember, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Luigi?
It might have been.
Guido. Wow, that was really stereotypically Italian of cars, thinking back on that. I think they were Guido and Luigi.
Looks like that whole trash panda team pitting in now. Joe Tardif, Frank Marchese, Greg McConey, Zachary Baker, Kirby Wainscott. And they're going to pull out there. Checking in with this other pack here, Ira Kohlhaas. Sorry, I think it's Ira Kohlhaas. Brandon Massey catching up to John Smith, Brandon Lopez. They've got a good little push there. Look at Brandon Lopez. What a push by him. Sticking to that bumper.
Doing exactly what you're supposed to do there. And at this point, you guys are just trying to get caught up because you know that lead pack is starting to form. Team Trash Pan have been so strong tonight, working so well as a team together. And, you know, you got to, if you're in that second pack right there, you know you've got to get caught up so you can get cinched onto that. Because otherwise, those guys are just going to work together and they're going to completely pull away.
It's like the 13 and Brandon Lopez is going to drop down to that bottom lane to get inside of that draft and keep it moving forward, save a little bit of fuel there. We have about 20 to go. Those 4 cars between Brandon Massey, Ira Koolhaas, not Lopez, Brandon Lopez, John Smith, all pitted about 3 laps before. So they're on a different fuel strategy. And Ira Koolhaas, Brandon Massey just sending it right now, right through the middle.
At this point, everybody is thinking we're going to be tight on fuel. We got to maybe try to take it a little bit easy where we can. You know, not worry about like the position. There's plenty of time to catch up here at Talladega. 20 laps to go. That's still a world of time when you take in consideration the lap times at Talladega. And then you just had Ira Koolhaas up at the front there being pushed by Brandon Massey, and they were like, all right, we're going to the front. We'll see y'all later.
Yeah, so I think you got to make a decision early if you're these drivers. Do I want to make this another pit stop race, or do I think I can stretch this out to the end? And I can tell you personally, looking at my fuel mileage there, I did not think I can make it to the end at this point here with 19 to go. I think I had maybe 16 laps in the tank. But trying to stay in line, not be the front car out. You see Greg McConey popping out to the outside, let a new guy go by, let them burn up some fuel instead of me.
This is where the fuel strategy was really starting to come into play. Everyone was on pretty much the same pit road strategy. A little stutter from Greg McConey there as he tries to get back into line, but you really have kind of the tale of two different strategies right here. I mean, you just saw the Trash Panda guys kind of swapping spaces so that one person wasn't having to lose all the fuel being in front. Also, these guys are really taking it easy at this point. I mean, they are not putting down burnout laps here at Talladega. And then you have kind of the opposite up front where Ira Koolhaas being pushed by Brendan Massey, who is 1 lap down at this point. Again, they are teammates. And they just decided to put it full mat down, take advantage of the guys that are taking it a little bit easy, trying to save fuel, and they just took off.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, as a driver, I was watching this from the back here and seeing that Ira Koolhaas was in front of his teammate of Brandon Massey. Massey being, I believe, 3 laps down, or 1 lap down, sorry. And what really sold the strategy, what they were doing to me, is I saw Ira Koolhaas in front of Brandon Massey, and I figured if he was going to save fuel, he would be behind him, so he can kind of be half throttle and let Brandon Massey burn it up if he wanted to, especially being a lap down, he can follow. But the fact that Koolhaas was out here in front burning up his own gas, I knew these guys were planning on pitting one more time.
At this point, you're figuring Koolhaas, Massey almost certainly going to pit again, but even you said in this backpack here being led by the number 15 of Kensley Smith there, then you got Frank Marchese and John Smith there. Even though they pitted a little bit later and you're a little bit more confident that these guys can make it, or at least have half a chance to make it, it's not a done deal that this group can make it either.
Yeah, looking back, I think I was still deciding here what the plan was. Trying to figure out, I knew those guys in front were going to pit. I just had to figure out if I could make it, if I had enough time here. I think right now I had about 14 laps of fuel, so I was closing that gap between how many laps I could push it and how many laps were left. But It's a tough decision to make because you pit too early. I mean, you're going to pretty much lose the pack. Then those guys might not pit, maybe be able to stretch it to the very end and make it to the end. I like what there was a crew chief, I believe it was a crew chief the other day, was talking about Denny Hamlin and his 4-tire stop. And his quote was, you had to decide how many tires you wanted to lose with, or how many tires you wanted to finish with. Did you want to finish two sets or 4 sets? Because it's the way it goes. But how to figure out here, are you comfortable running out of gas and finishing the race where you finish it, or maybe take some fuel and know you'll finish it, but maybe move up some spots? It's a big gamble.
It really is, and I know we've gotten into some disagreements over the time of me being in the spotter booth and you being on the track, where maybe I'm trying to run a more aggressive strategy than you are. You're trying to run a more aggressive strategy than me, and it's always one of those things where when you're the one kind of on the opposite end of the agreement, I suppose, where you're like, man, I hope I'm right. Because if I'm not and we end up going with my idea, I'm going to feel like a real jerk.
Yeah, and the thing that I think I have learned most about racing and stuff is that you can make plans and you can make strategies before the race and how you think it's going to go, and it's never going to go that way. If it does, congratulations on your win because everything turned out perfect, but you have to be able to adapt very well and really play off of what other guys are doing in front of you and behind you. It's almost like a poker hand where you're not just playing your cards, you're playing everybody else's cards at the table as well, and trying to figure out what they're going to do, figure out what they got.
What's the old quote? We make plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe no place more true to that than racing and in NASCAR. I think that drivers make plans, and the God of racing is a cruel mistress almost all of the time. The God of racing has to be a woman. Not trying to make a theological point there, just making a joke, everybody.
Looks like the drivers there, Frank Marchese, Kinsley Smith, both going to fall back in line to save some fuel. And again, just to break that fourth wall barrier, this is where I decided as soon as that happened and I was out front that I am going to have to pit again no matter what, whether I like it or not. So the whole strategy here is to get Frank Marchese to follow me and all those guys behind me, and either make them burn up gas, and if not, if we're all going to stick in a line together, then we're going to ride the top side here in a second and take the longest part of the track possible, so that way everybody's got to burn fuel.
As I'm going to say, and again, to break the fourth wall here, this is where John started laughing, knowing that he was kind of pulling a maneuver here to try to get everybody else to burn fuel along with him. So John is laughing, and Frank Marchese is cursing.
It's a kind of an offensive play when you're on defense here. If I'm gonna burn it, we're all gonna burn it. I'm gonna waste everybody else's, so that means they're gonna try to make that chance of them having to pit a little bit greater. If you think about it in the term of percentage chance that they can make it, I'm trying to make that percent go down by sticking here on this high side.
Like you said, it's actually a really good analogy. I don't know that I was following it at first, but I think I'm actually caught up with what you're going with here. Making an offensive play on defense. You know, hey, I don't think I can make it on fuel. I don't think anybody else can make it on fuel, but I know I can't. So at this point, I have to play defense because I don't know what I can do offensively. So trying to make an offensive play to make everybody else make your odds a little bit better on everybody else also having to pit. That's some good thinking. That's some smart stuff out of you.
Yeah, we were swinging from our heels here.
I'm saying there John goes actually to bring it down pit road. I think you ended up bringing it down by yourself in that circumstance, and the Trash Bandit guys and a lot of the other drivers out there ended up deciding to keep it out there just a little bit longer, all the while.
I believe so. There's a tire guy ready to roll. Let me in. Let me in. He said, no, sir, just fuel. Thank you very much. Back on the track, Ira Kohlhaas still out there in the lead in front of his teammate, Brandon Massey. Massey is a lap down, but they're both going to bring it down pit road here with 10 to go. It'll be 9 when they cross the stripe. Zachary Baker leading this other pack right now. Frank Marchese right behind him. Kinsley Smith trying to catch up here just a little bit. He will be able to catch that draft. Brandon Lopez trying to make something shake.
10 to go. This is where it really starts getting into crunch time, especially when you know you're in this pack right here. So you're Zach Baker, you're at the front of this thing. You just saw guys that have been running with you. You saw them already come down pit road. You saw you pit already. You know, Ira Kohlhaas and his teammate Brendan have already come down pit road as well. So you're like, man, I don't know that we can make it. Maybe we were trying to. I don't think we can anymore. So now we just got to start making strategy plays to try to figure out how we're going to get to the end of this thing and when we're going to bring it down pit road. You also got to figure out who's going to go with you. Is any of your team going to try a different strategy? Is someone going to try to push it all the way to the end? There's just so many different things that come into play at 9 to go at Dega, especially in a fuel race like this.
Yeah, showing those lap times there. The last lap, you're going to start seeing this fall back as these drivers try to save a little more fuel as we go on. Gotta save, and you'll see the gap over here on your left now. Ira Kohlhaas catching up very, very quickly to the leaders. Let's see if we can cut over to Kohlhaas, still out there leading his teammate Brandon Massey. Getting a good run, good push with him. And I mean, that time is just going down.
Yeah, they are flying back up towards the front. And John, I know you're trying to get caught up at this point as well, but a lot more ground to make up and just no help out there from having to bring it down pit road. At this point, you're basically just hoping that other people are out of gas.
Absolutely.
Not to wish ill on anybody, but, you know, sometimes you got to wish, like, a little bit of ill. They're not going to get hurt from coming down pit road.
Yeah, this is half the Trash Panda team right here deciding to bring it down pit road, knowing they're probably not going to be able to make it. That's going to be Kinsley Smith, Frank Marchese, Zachary Baker, Kirby Wainscott, Joe Tardif. As they all come down. Going to be fuel stop only for these guys. Oh, Joe Tardif overruns his pit stall too.
So again, you just had the tale of two strategies here. You had you bring it down by yourself, which I think was...
Tardif spins coming out of the pit road, trying to gas it up. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're good. I mean, that was unfortunate for Joe. He had a really good race car. Was up there at the front pretty much the whole time, and I mean, he really dinged it up pretty good, unfortunately, right there. But you really had the tale of two strategies. You had Brandon Lopez and Greg McConey electing to keep it out, not knowing if they could make it, knowing they're probably going to be a little bit short, but, you know, going to do the best they can. You got Ira Kohlhaas and his teammate who knew they were short, elected to really just kind of mat it down and not even try the strategy that they were going to save. They ended up bringing it down. And then just start flying back towards the front. And then Team Trash Panda all decided to come down as a group and try to push back to the front together.
Yeah, these guys are only 5.1 seconds away from the leader itself as they come in here to turn 4, or turn 3, I'm sorry, and still increasing that time. Going back just a little bit further, John Smith leading that pack, Frank Marchese, Kinsley Smith right behind them. Marchese giving a good push.
Watching these times back in retrospect, I mean, I think we realized during the live, you know, how quickly Kohlhaas and Massey were going to get caught up there. Because at this point, Lopez and McConey were very unsure, if not sure, that they were going to be short on gas. And at this point, Kohlhaas, you know, very sure that he can make it. It's just flying around the track, pushed by his teammate. And watching how quickly those times are going down is kind of nuts in retrospect.
Yeah,
you see McConey and Lopez there trying everything all of the different tricks in the book to see if they can make it, swapping spots, trying to see if they can make it. But I mean, at this point, you know you're in trouble, and you're kind of just playing for a podium spot as you see Kohlhaas pushed by his teammate just come flying around there.
Checking back in with this pack back here. Frank Marchese, Kinsley Smith, Zachary Baker, Kirby Wainscott all on the bottom side of John Smith there. Smith going to drop onto the back.
This is where you start to see the times of that backpack slow down just a little bit. You saw them gaining a ton of time when it was McConey and Lopez up at the front. McConey and Lopez were taking it so easy. At this point now with Kohlhaas in front, and he's matting it trying to get away, you're going to see those times diminish a little bit. I think still gaining time overall, but at this point, I mean, Kohlhaas just hasn't matted with his teammate. 3 to go here in the Alabama 300 at Talladega, and I mean, just again going over the tale of two strategies here that made the end of this race what it is, and Kohlhaas and his teammate really just playing it to perfection at this point.
And you see the last lap times and look exactly where that 4 through 8 spot there is, all running near about the same. Trying to catch up to that leader, but I just don't think there's enough time for them to do so.
Yeah, gaining time is good, and I mean, any other track in a lot of places you'd see you're gaining a second and a half per lap, and you're like, oh wow, this is great, we're doing so good. And then when there's 2 to go at Talladega and you're 16 seconds behind, there's a lot of magic that can happen at Talladega, but short of the magic that comes in the form of a yellow flag, not much you're going to be able to do here as Marchese, Smith, Wainscott, Baker, and John Smith, unless people start running out of gas.
And there is some guys out here that are pushing the fuel strategy right now, so 2 to go right now. Kohlhaas about to bring it across the stripe for the white flag.
I mean, at this point, just him and his teammate just flying away with this thing. And just such good teamwork out of those guys, especially, you know, newcomers in the league this time. But obviously, a lot of experience for both of those guys. I mean, they played their strategy exactly the way they wanted it. White flag in the air, pulling away at this point. Massey even being a lap down, able to be there for his teammate. I mean, that's exactly the kind of thing we want in the Knapp Daddy Racing League. That's exactly the kind of racing. They ran a clean race. They ran a smart race. If you want to see yourself in one of these positions, you should hit us up and get on board with the Knapp Daddy Racing League as they come down the backstretch for the final time. And in the strategy play of all strategy plays, Ira Kohlhaas going to come home your winner in the Alabama 300 at Talladega Super Speedway. What a win, what a strategy, what a victory. As we see everybody trying to make it to the line behind them. People spinning out, people running out of gas. Greg McConey going to come home in second. Kirby Wainscott going to take third. Kinsley Smith going to take fourth. Due to some people spinning out and running out of gas, John Smith going to move up to fifth there. Zachary Baker going to come home in sixth. Frank Marchese in seventh. Brandon Lopez trying to make it to the end there, but ran out of gas at the end.
He's just let that thing coasting there.
Brendan Massey pushing his teammate to victory up at the front, but finishing a lap down at ninth. Joe Tardif having a great race, but unfortunately had a mess up on that last pit stop of the night. And Ira Kohlhaas gets to get back across the line and burn it down. Well-deserved, well-earned victory for him. That was hilarious. Brother, there is no loving like teammate loving. And they love each other right now. Look at that. That is what a sight to see.
Absolutely. And congratulations to our winner, Ira Kohlhaas. We pull up the race results here for you. And the race info, apparently. But here are the results for you. Ira Kohlhaas bringing it home first place. Greg McConey in second. Going to have Kirby Wainscott in third place. Kinsley Smith in fourth. John Smith in fifth. Zachary Baker coming home in sixth place tonight. Frank Marchese in seventh. Brandon Lopez, 8th. Brandon Massey coming home in ninth place. Joe Tardif rounding out your top 10. Dagan Barnes, 11th. Thomas McLaughlin in the 12th. Baker Knapp in 13th. And Gary Armijo not putting down the lap in last place tonight. But congratulations to our winner. First time out here. Excited to get down there and see what he has to say, or get him up to the booth so we can get some interviews going. But we're going to get those set up for you, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Knapp Daddy Racing broadcast. I do have your top finishers up here waiting in the booth for us. Coming up first, I do have Kirby Wainscott. I'm pulling him up here right now. Kirby, you got a copy of this in the booth?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
Good finish today, man. P3 coming around there. Talk to us about this track and how the draft was playing with these next-gen cars.
Yeah, as far as the draft goes, I mean, like there early in the race before we started saving everything, it was kind of tough to get a run going up on the outside. You would have to have at least 3 or 4 cars, basically nose to tail, to get anything going, really. So, I mean, unfortunately, that was about the only time we actually got to go full throttle and race, was there at the beginning of the first stage. But yeah, I mean, as long as you had teammates with you, you could make a run.
Absolutely, man. Good finish up with P3 here tonight. So we're going to head to Iowa next week. Before I let you go, any sponsors or shout outs you want to give?
Nah, I just want to give a shout out to Kinsley Smith, one of the teammates. He is the one that designed the car that I was riding in tonight, and give a shout out to all of my teammates there at Trash Panda. We're working well all night tonight. Unfortunately, we couldn't pull out the win, but we had some good teamwork to get us all up there.
Yes, sir. Well, congrats again on P3, and we will see you next week at Iowa.
Alrighty, thank you.
It's going to be Kirby Wainscott finishing at third place here tonight at Talladega. Coming up next, I have Greg McConey in the 16 car finishing in second place tonight. Greg, you got a copy with us?
Yes, sir. What's up, man?
Nothing much, man. Talk to us about fuel saving at this track and how the strategy was going throughout the race.
Oh, that fuel save was brutal. Just we were right on the limit from when we came out of stage 2. Just we were right on the number. Even coming down and topping off before the green flag to start stage 3, you just had to save fuel all night long, and it was tough. You know, I was able to drag it to the end thanks to some help from Joe and the other Trash Panda guys. You know, Joe was giving me a hand on that last lap, really trying to help me out. And I was sputtering at the start finish line, or I'm sorry, at the pit road entrance, and sputtered my way to a P2 finish.
Absolutely, man. Well, a great points run for you here tonight at Talladega. Heading into Iowa next week, looking to improve on that and climb up in the playoffs there a little bit. But before I let you go, any sponsors or shout outs you want to give?
I got to shout out my wife, Sydney, first off. She does a great job, you know, letting me come down and race pretend race cars. I got to thank all the guys over at Trash Panda Autosport. I got to thank, you know, you guys for putting on a great league. I got to thank the family that's watching. Grandpa Paul, I hope you enjoyed the car when you get to come back and see it. I got to shout out my son. It's his second birthday today, and his birthday theme is tractors. So the trash deer scheme is more than perfect for what was coming into tonight. And thanks to everybody that showed up and raced, and everybody that watched the broadcast. And we'll go into Iowa next week and get ready for the hopefully making the final six.
Yes, sir. Well, congrats again on second place tonight, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That's going to be Greg McConey finishing up in second place tonight. Coming up next, I do have Ira Kohlhaas. First time here. Ira, you got a copy with us in the booth?
Yes, sir. I got you.
So first race in the Knapp Daddy Racing League. You come here, pull out a win. I want to talk to you a little bit about that strategy there at the end. I know we talked a little bit earlier about when to go, when not to go. Tell us about your strategy here as you were deciding to save gas or to burn it up and go ahead and pit on that last stint there.
Well, me and my teammate Brandon Massey, we've talked probably for the last 20 restrictor plate or super speedway races about how when they get single file, it is boring, and we're begging and pleading for 3 or 4 guys just to get out of line, go balls to the wall, wide open, make a different strategy. And I was like, well, I mean, now's a good time to try it. We were hooked up. We got hooked up off of pit road, and we put the pedal down and never lifted, and it worked out for us.
Yeah, so we are heading to Iowa next week. Hope to see more of that next week there at Iowa. Love a good aggressive approach here to Talladega. But before I let you go, any sponsors or shout outs before I let you go here?
Yeah, for sure. I got to thank my wife, Callie, and my 2 daughters, Clara and Lorena. Special shout out to Clara. She got straight A's on her report card this semester or quarter or whatever they call it now in 3rd
Nice.
grade. Got to thank Randy and Jennifer Sellers from RJS Automotive, Bohica Paintworks, my teammate Brandon Massey from Bohica Esports, and new sponsor for me this coming season for all the leagues that I'm in is Bullpen Cleaning north of Atlanta. They've come on board and was hoping to get them a win pretty quick and got that job done.
Absolutely nothing like getting a win for the new sponsors. Hang the report card on the fridge, hang the win certificate here on the fridge along with the report card. But congratulations on finishing in first place tonight in your first race here at Knapp Daddy Racing League. And looking forward to seeing more of you next week at Iowa.
Yes, sir. We'll be there.
Moving on down, I have Thomas McLaughlin finishing in 12th place tonight. Thomas, I want to talk to you a little bit about that run going through. I know you had a draft partner out there. Tell us about how important keeping that draft was and your thoughts through the run here.
So starting the second stage, we got the go around, and we did not get back up to the pack before they started going. And I made it like probably 3/4 of the way through that whole stage with no partner, and it just killed my fuel. Like I think we had to pit like twice.
Yeah, it was definitely a fuel strategy race out here. Got to have somebody to link up with. But going to Iowa next week, do you have any thoughts on Iowa Speedway?
I don't know, a lot of practice.
Absolutely, man. Before I let you go, any sponsors or shout outs you want to give?
Ice Cold Miller Lite and all the hot moms that drove me to do this.
That's perfect, man. But again, 12th place finish for Thomas McLaughlin here tonight, and looking forward to seeing him next week at Iowa. Got newcomer Brandon Massey up here in the booth with us as well, bringing it home in 9th place tonight. I heard from Ira Kohlhaas a second ago about working with his teammate. Brandon, talk to us about how important teamwork is here in the pit road strategy, especially coming down at the same time.
Yeah. First and foremost, man, congratulations to Ira for that win. Yeah, we were just talking, right? I mean, you can't beat everybody else doing the same shit that everybody else was doing, and you get in a big train and you're just saving fuel, man. It just becomes monotonous and boring. And we were sitting there riding, and I said, "Dude, I'm bored," and he said, "I am too." And he said, "You want to make a strategy call here?" And I said, "Dude, I'm with you. I'm a lap down." Got a lap down early from the first wreck that we had in the first stage and just never was able to get it back. But I was like, I'm here for it, man. I'll help you do whatever I can. And, yeah, we made the strategy call, right? And everybody else started backing up, and we decided to go. And I think we got out to about 14 seconds, decided to hit pit road, and then was able to run everybody else back down. So, yeah, congratulations to Ira, man, and hell of a job and some really good teamwork with only 2 cars being outnumbered by most of the teams in here.
Absolutely, sir. And I love having 2 guys like you come to the league like this and have a little bit different strategies. Makes the league a lot more fun. I mean, that was a really fun race tonight. But before I let you go, any sponsors or shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, man. I ride with my dad on the hood of my car. I want to say thank you, Dad, for everything you've done for me. I want to give a shout out to my mama, my wife, my kids, Ink and a Blink, Bohica Paint Works, Bullpen Cleaning. You guys for putting this thing on and allow us to come over here and race. I know I'd reached out to an admin earlier. I believe it was you, Jonathan, and was like, "You sure you don't care for us racing? No, just be mindful of the playoff cars." And so, yeah, I think we did that, and looking forward to going to Iowa next week and maybe put one of these Bohica cars back in victory lane.
Absolutely, sir. It was a pleasure having both you guys here tonight. Good, clean racing all around. Good competitive racing. So love to see it. Love to keep this thing growing with drivers like you two coming in here. But coming up next, I have Dagan Barnes. Dagan bringing it home in 11th place tonight. Dagan, you got a copy with us?
I do.
Talk to us a little bit about the strategy you had going through this race and how it changed throughout the run.
Oh, strategy kind of went out the window after the first caution. I can't even remember who it was right now. I just got so slidey early on and come down across the nose bringing out that first caution, which really hurt my soul starting on the front row for my first time in this league, being the only rookie license in the league. It's had my hopes going really high and kind of just ended up following back as the race went on, just going whenever the fuel went out.
Absolutely, sir. Well, before I let you go here, any sponsors or shout outs you want to give?
I would absolutely love to. Big giant thank you to the Johnson Community CNC College for letting me make the things I do to try to rigid and improve my sim setup, allowing me to use the material to actually help make it better. Of course, that's who's on the car. Atlanta Cabinet, which is me and my father's business. They pay for my school. They pay for everything to help me make this happen. And my best friend Willow for being a fan to cheer on that I get to text at 3 a.m. to be like, I wish I did better.
Absolutely. Always good to have people to lean on like that. But finishing in 11th place tonight, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week at Iowa.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
And that was your interviews with your top 3 as well as some of our other drivers here tonight. What a race it was here in the Alabama 300 at Talladega. We appreciate everyone who was here with us on Monday night for the POV stream. We appreciate everyone who joins us for the actual broadcast here. This will be up on Thursday night, just a couple days after the race. Once again, thank you to everyone who joins us or who watches. Be sure you leave a like on the video. It helps us out a ton. Be sure you subscribe to the Knapp Daddy Racing channel so you don't miss any of the action we have come up for the remainder of this playoff season, as well as our upcoming season. Lots of good things in the works. We're looking forward to it very, very much. Be sure you join us live on Monday night for the next race in this Knapp Daddy Cup Series playoffs. Be sure you also check us out at Knapp Daddy Racing on TikTok whenever we are live, and on Thursday nights as the broadcasters for the Doghouse Racing League and the Group 6 Cup Series. You can also catch us on the track on Tuesday nights live, either on our TikTok or on Intensity Broadcasting for the Doghouse Racing ARCA Series. But with that being said, what a fun race here tonight. It was a really great show. Thank you to everybody for joining us. Thank you to the drivers. John, any final thoughts?
Yeah, man, just a lot of fun being out there driving with the guys out here as an admin and broadcaster. Don't get to do that too much, but it was fun to get out there and at least help somebody push a little bit of a draft. Again, me and Baker are not taking any points here, so those drivers will move up that were behind us, which for Baker, unfortunately, was pretty much nobody. But Gary Amijo, so Gary will move up a little bit there. But anybody behind me is also going to move up in points, so I'm not taking any points at all for this, and I don't want to mess up their playoff run just here for some draft. But excited about next week, heading to Iowa. It's one of my favorite tracks. I would say it's my second favorite track, actually, if I had to put a number on it. And it's going to be a really good time. You can catch that right here on Knapp Daddy Racing starting at 8:15 next Thursday night. And with that said, that's going to be just about it for us, man. But for the last time tonight, I've been John.
Hunter.
We will see you guys next week.
Take care, everybody.